el efecto de deportaciones en familias, estudiantes, en la economía, y para eso estamos aquí. So thank you so much for coming. We're going to go ahead and begin the panel. We have some great people here for you today. Today's opportunity came, of course, because of the State of the Union address by President Obama. And as the coalition, and we are an American coalition, we want to put forward the state of immigrant families in Arizona, the effect of deportations on students, the effect of deportations on families, the effect of deportations on the economy. So that's what we want to hear about from our great panel here today. And after that, we are going to do the watch party of the State of the Union. You're of course more than welcome to stay, get some food, and we're going to have some reactions after the event. I can't move the mic, so we're going to have to do a little louder. And we're going to have to do a little quiet in the back as well. So let me go ahead and introduce the panel. We have 5 individuals presenting different sides of immigration, the issue of immigration here in Arizona. And after I introduce them, you can please clap for each individual. The first one is Dulce Matos, who is the current president of the Arizona Dream Act Coalition. Dulce, welcome. The second one is Professor Bernie Espino from Arizona State University, who is going to be talking to us about the effect of the Latino vote. The third one is Carl Lansbury from Arizona Employers for Immigration Reform, talking about the effect on CIR and deportations on the economy. The fourth one is Attorney Martin Quesada, who's going to be talking to us about the Arizona legislature and what we can expect this year on immigration-related bills. And the last one is Petra Falcón from Promise, Arizona, who's going to be talking about the effect of deportations on family separation and children. So thank you so much, everyone. Because the rush hour hit, we're going to move the program a little bit. So I just ask you to bear with me. We're going to have each one present on the topic that you were assigned. We're going to have a timekeeper here, and she's going to let you know, according to the time that we have, how much time you have left. And then after everyone presents, then we're going to have take some questions and answers until the president is ready for us. Make sense? All right, thank you so much, everyone. And we begin with Dulce. You can stand up or you can stay. It's up to you.
Okay, my name is Dulce. I'm the current president of the Arizona Dream Act Coalition, and I'm here to talk to you today about the history of the Arizona Dream Act Coalition since it started and what we've been through the last, en el último año. Voy a hablar en español, me tocó hablar en español ahora. Nuestra visión de la coalición de Arizona por el Acta de Sueño es crear una nación donde todos los estudiantes estén completamente educados e integrados en esta nación. Y la misión de cómo vamos a llegar ahí es promover el éxito educacional de los estudiantes inmigrantes, es incrementar la participación cívica y es el aumentar la participación cívica y promover que se pase el acta de sueño a nivel federal. Entonces, de la manera que nosotros empezamos fue en el a finales del 2008. Y la razón que nosotros nos juntamos era porque pasaron una ley que se llama la Proposición 300. La Proposición 300, cuando pasó, lo que hizo fue aumentarnos la colegiatura por casi 4 veces. Entonces, aparte de eso, nos quitó cualquier beca que se nos estaba dando por mérito propio. Entonces, no importaba si teníamos buenas calificaciones, no importaba si éramos el mejor estudiante, no importaba si merecíamos esa beca, no nos las iban a dar por nuestro estatus migratorio. Entonces, si hubo algo positivo de la Proposición 300, fue de que nos pudimos conocer. Yo siempre pensé que era la única estudiante indocumentada asistiendo a la Universidad del Estado de Arizona, pero después de la Proposición 300 y una beca que se hizo gracias a Chocarnos por la Causa, nos pudimos conocer y éramos alrededor de 300 estudiantes. Y ahí tuvimos que hacer una decisión. Y esa decisión fue quedarnos en las sombras o decir, vamos a salir de las sombras y compartir nuestras historias. Fue un momento muy emocional y emocionante también, porque no sabíamos qué es lo que iba a pasar. Si salíamos de las sombras y contábamos nuestra historia, ¿qué significaba? que Arpaio iba a venir a nuestras juntas y nos iba a hacer una redada en la escuela, o de que iban a ir a nuestras casas o que iba a afectar a nuestras familias. Sin embargo, unos de nosotros decidimos salir. Y cuando lo hicimos, requería mucho valor. Y aunque a veces decimos que somos indocumentados y sin miedo, a veces todavía tenemos miedo, ¿verdad? Porque no sabemos si nos va a pasar lo que le pasó a nuestra compañera Erika, que nos van a tocar la puerta y nos van a quitar a nuestros padres. Entonces, me voy a enfocar en el último año. Cuando empezó a finales del 2011, ¿qué fue lo que pasó? Mitt Romney nos dijo que iba a vetar el Dream Act. Si él fuese presidente, que iba a vetar el Dream Act. Entonces, después de ahí nos organizamos y se hizo una campaña donde decíamos, vamos a vetar a Mitt Romney, no al acta de sueño, ¿verdad? Entonces, después de ahí nos movimos donde había una versión republicana. Las conversaciones de Marco Rubio empezaron, que querían hacer una versión republicana del acto de sueño que no tenía lo que era una avenida a la ciudadanía para los soñadores. Entonces, nosotros seguimos con nuestras campañas de responsabilidad para los dos partidos. Nosotros seguimos hablando de lo que está pasando y afectando a nuestras comunidades. Y entonces teníamos una campaña que se llamaba Déjanos Soñar. Y en la campaña de Déjanos Soñar estábamos hablando de las deportaciones y la separación de familia que está ocurriendo en nuestras comunidades. Entonces aquí, después de haber luchado tanto, sin recursos, pero cuando decimos sin recursos estamos hablando de los recursos económicos, pero tenemos dos recursos que son muy importantes: nuestras historias y todos los soñadores que están dispuestos a donar su tiempo por la lucha. Y después de muchas veces que nos hicieron, ya ustedes mocosos cállense, no van a poder hacer nada, no importa que vaya a hacer esas visitas, no importa las demostraciones que hagas, no importa cuántas veces compartas tu historia. El 15 de junio del 2012 vimos una victoria que no se ha visto en toda la historia de la comunidad inmigrante desde la reforma migratoria del 86. Entonces, la acción diferida pasó. Y la acción diferida, aunque muchos de nosotros estamos muy contentos y es un paso en la dirección correcta, no es significativo de la dignidad y de las victorias que tenemos que tener como comunidad. Entonces, y estábamos bien contentos, pero adivinen qué. El día donde la primera aplicación se tenía que procesar con inmigración, que fue el 15 de agosto, la gobernadora dio un anuncio diciendo que nos va a quitar las licencias, que no importaba que tuviéramos un permiso de trabajo, que no importaba que teníamos ese seguro social, que nos iba a quitar las licencias, que no teníamos derecho a esa identificación. Entonces, esto comprueba que todavía, aunque tenemos acción diferida, todavía hay mucho trabajo que recorrer. Y la Arizona Dream Act Coalition, junto con organizaciones como ACLU, MALDEF y NILC, hicieron una demanda en contra de la gobernadora. Y el marzo 22 de este año vamos a escuchar cuál va a ser el veredicto y si nos van a dar una preliminary injunction. Entonces, ¿qué es lo que hemos hecho? Hemos podido movilizar el voto. Se ha visto que aquí en Arizona agarramos más de 6,000 promesas de personas que están registradas para votar, que lo dijeron que iban a votar por candidatos que apoyan el acta de sueño. Aparte hicimos registraciones y pusimos a la gente en lo que es en el early ballot, en la boleta temprana. Aparte de eso, pusimos campañas que con el apoyo de Promise Arizona, con el apoyo de Somos América, hemos podido de ayudar más de 1,000 soñadores a completar su aplicación de acción diferida. Y eso no podría ser con los abogados que están aquí presentes. O denle un aplauso, por favor. ¿Hacia dónde vamos? Vamos ahorita a luchar por los 11 millones de sueños que hay en toda la nación. Entonces, vamos a tener un evento el jueves en el Capitolio, todos están invitados y es a las 2:30, y es para pelear por los 11 millones de sueños que hay en esta nación, y se me acabó el tiempo.
Okay, thank you for having me here. What I hope to talk about in just 7 minutes is a little bit of politics, not just politics of 2012, but politics going back to 2010 a little bit. And I can go back, wind the clock back further, but again, I only have 7 minutes here. What I hope to cover tonight is somewhat obvious, just to remind you who won in November 2012. But the lessons we learned from 08, 2010, heading into 2012, and what we can expect heading forward as a result of the changes we saw among Latino voters in the 2012 campaign cycle. So a little bit looking ahead. Some quick numbers for those of us that weren't paying attention in November 2012. Obama won re-election, okay, and more importantly, he won a historic record, 75% of Latino vote. You have to go back to Bill Clinton's re-election campaign, and when Bill Clinton estimated 72% of Latino vote. And of course, we know how the president gets elected is electoral college. Key battleground states where Latinos made a difference: Colorado, Nevada, Ohio, New Mexico. Virginia didn't do as well as he did nationally. Here in Arizona, 79% of Latinos cast their vote for Obama. Now, we can decisively say that Latino voters made a difference in giving Obama the election, the popular vote and electoral college vote, but we can't not forget that Mitt Romney also helped Obama win with some of the missteps, and some of which I'm going to talk about now, some of which was already talked about in the previous presentation. How did we get to those November 2012 election results? In part, and specifically, the Latino vote. April 2010. We know this. SB 1070 gets signed into law, right? Democrats, heading into the 2010 midterm election, lost dramatically, lost control of the House of Representatives, in part because very few approve of his handling of immigration heading into the 2010 general election results. Obama, Democrat, with lack of approval of how he's handling immigration, it cost Democrats heading into the 2010 midterm election. Republicans did not come away unscathed from this, of course. We know that most Latino voters saw not just Democrats not doing a whole lot, but particularly Republicans not working on it, but exerting themselves to block comprehensive immigration reform. Of course, the November 2012 election results showed dramatic reversal. This is an important number I want to point out. There was a question we also asked immediately in the same survey in April 2010, asking Latino voters here in Arizona, if immigration reform is not passed while in his first term in office, do you feel that it's understandable because of all the other important issues, the recession, or is this going back on a campaign promise? The majority of Latino voters saw it as breaking a campaign promise to them. And again, the story, Latino voters stayed home in 2010. Let me skip ahead for sake of time to just changes. I'm going to zoom in. So again, those last survey data results were from April 2010. We head into 2012, right? You still have the economic numbers not looking good for Obama and Democrats. There's a chance that Mitt Romney might pull it off. And something dramatic changes between June and October in terms of how Latino voters are viewing Obama and the Democrats in general, but also specifically his handling of immigration. Some of that's already been touched upon. What changed? The change in the deferred action, right? Obama issues an executive order in June. Mitt Romney also did something. He made a campaign statement where he says SB 1070 should be a model for the rest of the country. Okay? And look what happens between just the change in vote. Obama's numbers increase. I should also point out, too, we also know that there's less undecideds because more people are making up their mind. But that doesn't explain all the story. It's a dramatic move. Also, change in Obama's job approval from June 2012 to October, a month before the election. Dramatic increase in his approval. What doesn't change for Latino voters, concern over our broken immigration system. In June, in October, it's still the most dominant issue for Latino voters in the nation and here in Arizona. You also have uptick in enthusiasm, the differences in enthusiasm between Obama and Romney, specifically related to what Obama did, the change in the deportation policy, deferred action, and then Mitt Romney is stating that SB 1070 should be a model for the rest of the country. So Obama did win the votes of Latino voters, but Mitt Romney also helped him with some of the statements he made during that campaign. So campaigns do matter. Political scientists would, kick me out if I didn't say that. Also, too, another question that I often am asked is, these are Latino voters. Why should Latino voters care about immigration? It doesn't affect them. They're citizens. They have papers. They're here. They're indirectly affected. A question that we asked in the November 2012 pre-election poll was asking Latino voters, do you know anybody that is here without papers? Furthermore, do you also know somebody who's a dreamer? The majority of Latino, and again, this is Latino voters, 66%, 2/3 of Latino voters know somebody who's undocumented, 55% know somebody who's a dreamer. I want to, for sake of time, I'm just going to skip ahead to electoral consequences and big picture kind of thing. I'll come back to this later in the Q&A if there's time. We have comprehensive immigration reform being considered, proposed by the U.S. Senate. I want to keep in mind it's going to be a long, arduous process. Don't expect anything time soon. There's multiple access points. What we see is a piecemeal approach being pushed by Republicans, comprehensive approach. If you're for comprehensive immigration reform, do not settle for the piecemeal approach, okay? It will bring failure. And also another thing to keep in mind, unintended consequences. Politics is full of it. A world post-immigration reform, what will it be like? Right now, people living in the shadows live in a nasty, brutish world. If we have comprehensive immigration reform, those people that are not covered by the legislation will live in a world that's even more nasty, more brutish. Okay, so it's something to keep in mind. All right, and that's it for time right now.
Just leave it. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for coming. Since I have 7 minutes, I have to speak quickly, as they say, burn the candle at both ends, twice like half the time. There's really no data out there yet that addresses the issue specifically of what is the economic impact of people who are deported on the economy. So what I'm going to talk about is kind of the broader impact that we've seen. I almost always start my talks with this slide because it's so true, and that there's just so much hot air around immigration reform and the impacts on people. It's staggering. And so one of the things that I try to do is make sure that we get rid of the hot air. From an economic standpoint, you can see here, these are kind of the claims that people, particularly somebody named Russell Pierce, have been making over the years. This is reality. I mean, you can see basically that there are some significant exaggerations in these figures. Same thing with crime. These are the claims, this is reality, and the simple fact is that they're all gross exaggerations. Now, the other thing we talk about exaggerations are the statements that people make. These next couple slides deal with some research that organizations that check politician statements have made. So it's not me saying this, it's newspapers. But basically, it's these are immigration statements, and ask people. Does anybody here watch like lawyer shows on TV where they go to court? Audience participation. Raise your hand if you watch those kind of shows. Okay, nobody does. Wow. Anyway, so my point is that when they put somebody on a witness stand, they don't ask them to swear to tell the truth, mostly the truth or half of the truth. And so if you hold politicians the same kind of standard, you see that 88.7% of the time, any statement they're making about immigration is wrong. Now this is nationally. If you look at Arizona, it's even worse. 60% of the statements are wrong out of the gate. But that's what our laws are based on. But nationally, you know, or across all of the statements, 92% of them are just false. So what we find is, you know, the people in Arizona should have been paying attention to what happened before, but they weren't. And so we got a lot of these same kind of problems that people found in these communities where these laws have been passed before. So again, past is prologue. Prince William County, there is a movie, 9500 Liberty, which I think probably a lot of you have seen. But look, you know, $15 million to train law enforcement. Property taxes had to go up. Business closures were up 45%. Farmers Branch, Texas, they're still working on this one. I think this is about $5 million for lawyers now. That's, I think, $7 million. Hazleton, Pennsylvania, millions of dollars spent on trying to defend these laws. In the state of Oklahoma, they passed SB 1070 kind of precursor in 2007. They found that with 90,000 unauthorized immigrants leaving the state cost them $1.9 billion to their economy. In fact, the Urban Institute found that there was no impact on social services because you all know that if you're not a U.S. citizen, you're not eligible from the first place. So it's, you know, really gets to be one of these crazy things. When you look at SB 1070, $5 million to train law enforcement, $186 million near-term convention and related tourism losses. I'll show you a chart on that in a second. $40.7 million in lost state revenues as a result of the lost convention business. And I think it costs about $5 million to defend SB 1070 in the court, which of the 4 sections that were challenged, 3 were overturned. Section 2B was sent back to the state because there wasn't sufficient case law, and there's not an attorney I've talked to who doesn't believe that that will be defeated and overturned eventually. This is the SB 1070 economics. So this is the percentage of immigrant population decline. So this includes immigrants and their families. It includes mixed families. So when you have, a citizen parent or a citizen spouse and one of them's not a citizen, these are kind of the impacts. But this is kind of where we are. So 14.5 billion in lost gross state product, 9.4 billion in income loss, 172,000 job losses. People say, well, how can there be job losses if all of these people have left? Well, it's actually quite simple, and it makes a really strong economic point. These people who have left are consumers. They buy stuff. They rent apartments. They buy clothing. They take their kids to events. All of this stuff. You cannot eject 250,000 people out of your economy and not feel it. And a good example of this is if you look at the city of New Orleans after Katrina. They lost about 280,000 people, and look at the problems they're having. It happens everywhere. This is the chart that shows, this is really nerdy stuff, but this is the recession here, and this red line is other states, and the blue one is Arizona. And this is a period of time that SB 1070 went into effect. So while the other states were starting to recover and was still, up above, the neutral growth or, just a flat line, Arizona dropped like a stone. Bottom line is the boycotts worked. Don't hear a lot of people talking about that, but you're going to start hearing it. But the fact is that it worked, and that's why we got a lot of the changes we did. So, these are the economic impacts: shrinking workforce, significant population loss, fewer consumers. But you know what? These states tried it anyway. So what happened then? In Georgia, they felt the problem in days. Farmers lost field workers during the prime harvest, and immediate losses as a result of their SB 1070 copycat laws, $330 million in produce. That's a big hit. Their governor called for an impact study 14 days after the law went into effect. Kind of dumb. You would think that you would want the impact study before you pass the law. They didn't do that. In fact, they did a pilot probationary program where agriculture told them they need 11,000 workers. They put out this, it's called for probationers. 14 showed up, and 7 were there just a week later. Alabama, same kind of thing. Definition of doing the same thing over and over again is insanity. But that's what happens when you do this stuff. So the only real answer to this is federal reform. And I try and drive this point home all the time. There is not a single case, where, whoops, okay, can I get a minute?
where immigration laws have produced any economic benefit that proponents have claimed. None. Nowhere. Not a zip. Not at the city level, not at the county level, not at the state level. They do not work. Allow to push good workers out of the state and push many into the underground economy. Research shows this. Copycat laws turn good workers into criminals and criminals into bad workers. That's not a winning deal for anybody. Boycotts, they worked. The Supreme Court decision, SB 1070, talked about that, how there's really no place for state immigration laws. But reforms have to come from Congress, and they have to address the economic, family security, and human rights issues. I'll stop there. Thank you.
Back on too. Yeah, I don't have a fancy PowerPoint, so we can turn the lights on. Guys, just again, my name is Martin Quesada. I serve in the State House of Representatives, and I've been there since March of last year, and I also serve as the chairman of the Latino Caucus. I bring that up because as a result of a lot of the things we've been talking about already, we have one of the largest classes of Latino legislators in a long time. That's a very good thing. We have several new Latino members of the House of Representatives, and our caucus is big, we're excited, we're energized, and we're ready to fight for you guys, really. With that, I was assigned to speak about what's going on at the legislature. Starting off, we all agree that comprehensive immigration reform is something that has to get done at the federal level. There's no doubt about that. However, there are lots of things that are happening at the state level that we do still have to pay attention to here. 1070 was a state level issue. The driver's license issue is a state level issue. There are lots of things that are still state level issues that we still need to deal with. So that battle has to be fought on both ends, both at the federal level and here at the state level. What is the result of some of the numbers that we just heard from Todd, some of the election numbers that we just heard earlier? What has been the effect of legislation at the state? To be honest, it's gone down. There's less effort to introduce things like 1070. There are less extreme measures being introduced right now. And I think the reason for that is because that one, they've seen what the business community have come out and said. The business community has come out and said, we don't like this. This does not help our businesses. This doesn't help the economy. This doesn't help the state of Arizona to be considered anti-Latino, anti-immigrant. And they saw the results of those election numbers. They saw that Latinos came out and voted. They saw the results of the groups like Promise Arizona. They saw all the work that ADAC did, all of the groups that got out the vote this past year. They registered voters and they turned out that vote. They have taken notice of that. And so as a result, that the number of extreme measures has decreased, but they have not gone away. There are still a few out there who are still holding on to this and holding on very tightly to this. With that, there are a number of bills, and I want to highlight a couple of them that are out there because this is a reflection of some of the attitudes and some of the mindsets that some of our legislators do still have about the Latino community, about the immigrant community, and these are things that we're fighting with. So some of the obvious bills, I think, which we should mention. There is a state representative now, former state senator named Steve Smith, who, in my opinion, is the biggest Russell Pierce wannabe out there. And it's very clear. And I'm not the only one that says that. The media has said that as well. They've called him, they've described his romance, his relationship with Russell Pierce as a romance. It's a disgusting romance. But anyways, he has introduced bills that will reimburse Pierce for his recall expenses, to change the way recall elections are held. And he's also attacked the immigrant community. House Bill 2289, schools, state